It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the USA Paralympic Para-Alpine skiing, Thomas Charles Walsh. How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into professional alpine skiing?
So I grew up in a small town of Vail, Colorado, and it is in the mountains here. And there wasn't a lot for us to do growing up. We had to be outside and playing in the snow, or in the summers, we'd be on the mountain. So I was pretty much born into being a skier. I went to daycare for ski school, and I progressed through the ranks in that. And here I am today now representing our country at the Paralympics.
What was it like getting involved at such a young age, at the age of 2, and then obviously skiing professionally at the age of 5?
So I started out skiing when I was 2, kind of as all little kids do, having fun, exploring the mountain, enjoying what it's like. And then around the age of 5, I started to get into what we call training, or gates. And that's where I, decided I wanted to go fast. Of course, I was only 5 years old, so it was still all about fun. But being brought into it at such a young age really laid the foundations for me to expand upon my career. I was always active, always enjoying everything that I did outside on skis and in the snow. And at the age of 5, I knew I wanted to go fast. So that helped me make that step as I grew up to decide, okay, now I'm a little older. I wanted to go to a ski academy in Vermont to try and further my ski racing career, which I ended up doing. And then I also, wanted to join a national team, which I eventually did later on in life. And so I'm looking at my 8th year now on the national team here for Paralympic ski and snowboard. And I feel really blessed that I was able to start at such a young age, because it really opened my eyes to what our community and our alpine world is all about.
Of course, at the age of 5, did you know that in 2018 you would make the national team?
I had absolutely no idea. At the age of 5, I had idols like athletes Darren Rolfs and Bodie Miller and Herman Meyer and all these ski racers who, are historical within my sport. I looked up to them and I idolized them. And I wanted to become a World Cup skier. I wanted to race the Olympics, and I wanted to race, all over the world. And so at the age of 5, I had that dream and I had that goal. But everything was a little bit changed when I was a teenager. I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had to go through chemotherapy and radiations and surgeries. And that kind of rocked my world. That put everything into big perspective and really made me question, not only my life and well-being, but my role within skiing and what skiing meant to me. And ultimately, skiing provided to be the thing that saved my life. And I pursued my ski racing career after I overcame treatments. I then took a step back and actually chose to pursue other things at an arts college in Georgia. So I took a step back from ski racing to try and see what other doors had. However, this little bird kept tapping at the window saying that you need to ski race, you need to ski race. And I got a call to become classified as a Paralympic athlete, meaning I have a physical impairment. So it's kind of a trick question when you say, did I want to do that at 5 years old? Yes, I always wanted to be a professional, an Olympian. However, life threw me a different, hand of cards. And so now I'm a Paralympian and race as a Paralympic athlete on the Paralympic World Cup. So I've kind of achieved that goal, but in a roundabout kind of way.
Of course, when you said that you took a break for a while, what was that like? And what was going through your head, obviously, when you took a break from the sport that you loved?
So the first break I took was obviously for cancer treatments. And that was a really grueling year and a half of various treatments and, really eye-opening things that had me question what I wanted to do. And I knew that skiing was it. I was not sure I was always going to be a ski racer, but I knew I wanted to be able to ski. And so once I finished my treatments, I took a big step to come back to ski racing. I actually had part of my pelvis removed. I had some of my lungs removed. My body was very weak and in a different state. And so I took the steps and went through the year-long sort of process to get back to skiing. It took me 3 years that I actually ended up skiing as an able-bodied athlete during high school. And then my second break came when I decided, Thomas, I had proven to myself that skiing is what I could do. It's what I loved. I was able to prove to myself that I was able to get back to it. I was by far not the fastest on the hill or in the slope or the most competitive. However, I had done it for myself. And so I decided to go to art school and pursue another dream of mine, which was theater and performing arts. I was always a very artistic kid as well. And so I took a year there at school in Savannah, Georgia, at the Savannah College of Art and Design, where I learned, I miss the snow a lot. I miss this. It's very different than coming from Colorado, going to Georgia. But that break is when I learned that I classified as a disabled athlete and as a disabled person and could race as a Paralympic athlete. And so that little calling, knowing that I could continue back to ski racing in kind of a more suitable place for where I was at in my life and physically, was an opportunity that I knew I couldn't pass up. And I've joined the team and I've been doing it ever since.
What was that feeling like in 2018 when you went to the Winter Paralympics?
That was a very humbling moment for me because I had been competing on the national team, knowing that I had the Team USA and our nation's logos on it. But until I got to the actual Paralympics in South Korea, you don't really see all that. So my eyes were really wide open, and it was, again, just truly humbling knowing that I'm representing something much bigger than myself.
What is it like, obviously, getting to travel the world, as you said, going to South Korea, when other people obviously can't travel the world?
Exactly. I'm very privileged to be able to compete in beautiful places and travel and experience amazing cultures all over the world. Now, there's a double-edged side of that sword for that, because I get to travel and I get to see amazing things. I also have to work. And so some of my ski trips, they're not always for pleasure. I'm going to a ski hill. I wake up at 5 a.m. I'm so exhausted and tired by 12. I can barely go for a walk during the day or see anything. So getting to experience the slopes and go to all these cool places is something I'm definitely taking advantage of while I'm young and hopefully the peak of my career. So I'm very blessed to do that.
How was it like the first time you hit the slopes as a professional skier?
My first race on the national team, which is by definition professional, I guess, was in a race in Kranjska Gora, Slovenia. Now, it is a very interesting country. It was a very interesting hill. I was very fortunate that I hit the ground running, so to say. I was able to achieve a third place in my first ever World Cup race. And, despite the result, I felt that I had finally returned back to something that I knew I loved and was born to do. And so that moment of competing and earning that medal kind of completed that whole journey of me of taking a break and coming back.
Of course, what was it like in 2019 when you won the bronze medal in the giant slopes?
So I won a bronze medal at the World Championships. Again, that was in Kranjska Gora, actually, same place. And I have a feeling you'll ask about my super combined medal as well. And those two medals were kind of the biggest medals I had earned in my career. I have multiple World Cup podiums. However, those are the two biggest achievements, and really kind of showed that I was in the right upward slope of trying to get there.
Of course, for my listeners that don't know, what is the difference between a giant slope and a super combined?
Okay, so in skiing, we have mainly 5 events. All right, slalom, giant slalom, super giant slalom, downhill, super combined, and there is one more parallel event. So there's 6 events. They can be differentiated based off the speed and the length of the turn. So if you watch alpine skiing, you see skiers go around the single gates and they'll knock them over. And they have those weird kind of helmet pads on and shin guards. That's slalom. Next to that is giant slalom, which is the single poles with a flag in between. And those alternate red and blue. Super G, or super giant slalom, is same as GS, but bigger turns and bigger skis. And then downhill is the fastest one, where they use only red panels and they have the super long skis and they go super fast. Super Combined takes our sport and it takes one run of slalom and one run of Super G and combines the time. So you have to be competing in two different disciplines in order to get that. And then parallel event is where we'll race head on head, one against each other through a smaller turning course, somewhat of a slalom and GS mix. So yeah, that's the long answer, but that's all of it.
Of course, when you're on the slopes, what is going through your head, obviously, when you're coming down them?
All sports, and I'm sure you've seen this with other athletes and some other athletes that I've talked to, is sometimes there's not really a lot of time to think. The reason we train so much and we do so many practice runs is so that we can teach our body muscle memory and allow our training to take over what we're supposed to be doing. With skiing, as a gravity sport, you're moving extremely quickly. Things are coming at you super fast. And so if we stop in our head mentally, if we stop and think about what just happened, we're going to be a little behind for what's coming up. So it's kind of the ultimate test of being able to let our body take over, trusting our visualizations, inspection, and what we know we need to do, and also continuing to move on. Because if something goes wrong, we can't change that. We have to move on to the next one and only do it better.
What was it like going to the World Pan American?
The World Pan Americans. So for us, we don't really have the kind of Pan American games. We do have NORAM Cups, North American Cups, which are competitions that we have throughout North America, in Canada, and the United States. And every year, those are great. It's awesome to compete against other athletes from our country and those other countries.
Of course, what is that like, obviously, getting to compete against Canada and other countries like that?
I feel lucky to have friends from other countries. Ski racing is a very small community. Then Paralympic skiing is even smaller. So some of my best buddies on the circuit come from countries like Finland and Canada and all over the world, really, because we travel to so many different places and we spend a lot of time on the road, not necessarily with each country, but as a whole, we spend a majority of our time in Europe for World Cup competitions. So having those friendships and those connections and those, jokes with other people really makes you feel more at home when I'm gone for a long time.
What was the feeling like when you first got to put on that the Pan Olympic jersey?
When I first got my uniform, when I first joined the team for the national team, they had none in my size because I simply was too small. And they didn't plan on someone joining like I did. However, when I got my Paralympic uniform and specifically my opening ceremonies uniform fitted, that was a part of the whole experience of realizing that, wow, like this is what my country is wearing. This is what I am wearing. I am representing this for everybody. I was chosen. I worked hard, and people are looking up to me to do the best to represent that. And so it's not belittling, it's humbling and feeling that I'm more a part of a bigger picture.
What's it like getting to prepare for the Pan American Winter Games?
So preparing for the Paralympic Games is quite a long journey. Just as the Olympics, we compete every 4 years for these. And this upcoming games in Beijing will be my second Paralympics, meaning I have been around for 4 years at least. And this is actually my 8th. I joined after the last ones. So it's a lot of pressure. It takes a lot of years. It's called a building prep. It's amazing how quickly the 4 years go before the next Paralympics.
What is it like on game day, and what are some of your routines and rituals like in the Pan Olympics?
So when I'm getting ready to compete, I am typically very quiet. I'm not one of those aggressive, loud, angry athletes. I typically will stick to myself in the lobby or the lodge before I head out to go to the top for my run. And I will do some visualizations of my skiing and my run, all in addition to physical, extensive physical warm-ups. Depending on the day, I'll wake up 3 or 4 hours early, eat breakfast, do a lot of mobilization, a lot of, body specific things that I need to activate before I want to compete. I'll listen to music, but I'm pretty much a quiet person when it comes to that. I don't mind talking to others, but I'm very much to myself.
What are some of your future plans in this upcoming year when you hit the Pan American?
So when I'm getting ready for these Paralympics coming up here in 2 weeks, actually, I'm going to be leaving on February 13th, a few weeks early before the games, to go to a last minute training camp to go through all of our team processing to get my uniform and all of our stuff before we fly all over there. So now I'm trying to, manage my energy, work on a few last minute, strategies and techniques in my skiing, and just try to mentally prepare because it's going to be a lot. I'm going to be gone for a very long time. And so making sure I have all the tools and stuff in place before I go, and also trusting in myself that I've put in the work to get where I want to be.
What's it going to feel like, obviously, to have your family there watching you compete?
I really, really do wish my family would be there. I know they'll be there in heart and in spirit, but unfortunately this year they're not able to travel to China because of all the travel bans and of COVID-19 pandemic. So I know I'll have my mom and my aunt and my grandma and my uncle and everybody from my town and all my friends back home watching. I definitely will miss having them there. However, for the safety and everything, it just makes sense that I'll be over there to focus on my own for what I need to do.
What were some of your favorite memories and moments in the last Pan-Olympic versus, obviously, what are some of your favorite memories and moments that you'll have in this one?
Last Paralympic Games, I was very nervous, I think. I wasn't quite sure what the big stage held. I had heard much about it and knowing potentially what it could be like, and knowing the seriousness and the pure scale of it all. So I feel a little bit more confident going into it this time around that I will be able to handle it a little bit better. I also know that it's going to be a little bit different than the last games, specifically due to COVID-19 and all those protocols. However, I'm feeling pretty confident I'll be able to handle it, and knowing that I'm just going to be a little bit more prepared than I was last time.
What are some of your future plans in the sport of Para-Alpine skiing?
As a Para-Alpine skier, I find it really big that I want to be a skier. I want to continue to compete as long as I can and as long as I love what I do. And I'm getting a little bit older now, but I'm still doing well. I'm still competitive, and I know that I have a lot more in me and I can push and continue to ski. So I'd like to continue to compete and represent our country as long as I can. And then after that, I know that I'll always be a lifelong skier. I know I won't always compete, but I'll always love being on the snow and I always love what I'm doing.
Who are some people that you look up to in the sport?
There are a lot of people who have helped me and that have inspired me and have guided me and mentored me, but some of my true closest are Michaela Schifrin, Stephen Nyman, Stacy Cook. There's a lot that I really respect and have helped me along the way, but those specifically.
What advice would you give those future people looking to do alpine skiing?
I would suggest for anybody interested in, Paralympic alpine skiing, reach out to your local disabled organizations and see what they have to offer you. Alpine skiing is not a cheap sport, unfortunately. However, there are mountains in our country and there's a few places to be able to go and do it. And, if you like being in the cold and you like being outside, then skiing might be for you. So give it a try.
Of course, what advice would you give those people that are looking to go to the Paralympics for the first time or the second time, just like how you are this upcoming week?
I would say keep your eyes open. Experience the joy and the privilege that we have to be able to go to such a big event and know that you are important and that you worked hard enough and that you are enjoying what you do. It can be stressful. It can be very stressful. However, I know that I need to remember, that I love what I do and that it is serious. However, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so to take full advantage of that.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
I'm very active on my Instagram page. My handle is at @twalnuts with a Z. So that's TWALNUTZ. I also am on Facebook at Thomas Charles Walsh. Also on Twitter at @twalnuts, the same name.
Thank you again, Thomas Charles Walsh, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as you get prepared for this upcoming Paralympics.
Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Thomas Charles Walsh, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.